Hello, and welcome to the Starving Artist podcast. I'm here with,
Elizabeth Papero.
and my name is Luke Ocasio. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Heck yeah.
Elizabeth, we have such a interesting topic to discuss, right?
Yeah, I'm so excited. We're going to be talking about the winged victory of Samothrace, or as people call her, Nike of
Yes, yes,
Samothrace.
yes. And so we deliberated heavily on a thesis, but we decided to end on this that the winged victory Samothrace moves to capture the viewer's engagement rather than grasp the concept of perfectionism or humanistic idealism. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, did you have any thoughts on that, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I think it really does. Somehow I feel like they captured perfectionism within it without trying to.
Sure,
And I
sure.
think that really does help with the engagement for sure. But um she's just perfect in my eyes, to be honest.
Absolutely. Well, why don't we go ahead and take a look at her right now?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
these are some images. Some of the only good images, really. I've
Yeah,
actually,
absolutely.
well, I just I looked so heavily, and these are just some of the most detailed pieces we have here.
Yeah.
Um, but
One thing I noticed recently when looking at her, if
yeah,
you look at the right image on the screen, you know how she kind of looks like she's pinkish whitish, almost like a gold color,
sure,
and
sure.
the marble she's cut from, while like the ship is gray. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to point out. Just the color difference in the marble.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's really gorgeous. So,
I mean, of course, and with all that, all those years, you get that aging and all that type of
hmm
stuff. But um, of course, here we have our statue. She is just so majestic with her form and her wings pulled back.
hmm
Um, Circa 190 BCE, so definitely within that Hellenistic time period.
hmm
Um, and did you want to go over a little bit of the details of like who found her, who made her, just a little bit of her backstory?
Yeah, absolutely. So they don't really know who the true artist was that sculpted her,
Hmm.
but many give credit to Pythocritus of Rhodes. He was
Okay.
a big contributor to the art and the culture during the Hellenistic period. And then in 1863, Charles, I don't want to butcher the name, but Champoise,
Sure.
Champoise?
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not too sure. I did terrible. But anyways, he found her while excavating the Greek islands of Samothrace, and that was in 1863. So that was a pretty long time between, when she was created and when she was found, for sure.
Yeah.
For her to just like sit and like age as beautifully as she did, you
I
know.
know. I mean, when you think about it, I mean, we can't even fathom the
Mm-hmm.
millions of pieces lost to time, and yet
For
here she
sure.
is, and she's so intact. Of course, we're missing her arms and her head, but I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we have these gorgeous, gorgeous wings, and you
Absolutely.
had highlighted earlier a detail of the wings that I didn't even know about.
Yeah, so from what I read, the wings they have, I don't really know how to describe it, but pretty much this square part that juts out, and there's a hole in her back so that each of the wings can like slide in there. And so her wings are actually freestanding, like because they figured out how to sculpt this to where it didn't need any supports at all. And so it just wedges in there and is freestanding, which is incredible to think about because you can't even imagine how heavy those are, you know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's impressive for sure.
Well, I mean, that's definitely a feat of
Absolutely.
creativity and engineering for sure. Before we move forward, because I wanted to do a little bit of comparing and tr contrasting
hmm
on some pieces before and after um,
The
the
Hellenistic period.
Yes, the creation of Nike here. I just wanted to call out some details. The drapery around her body is just so soft and so
Mm-hmm.
lush with detail. Um,
Exactly.
she seems to have that jutted out position that we see quite famously in a lot of pieces during
Mm-hmm.
this time, with like one leg out, kind of her
Yeah.
hips placed at a angle. But the reason I do believe that our thesis stands firm is because when you look at the way her wings are pulled back. Now, again, like
Mm-hmm.
this is the winged victory, right?
Absolutely.
She was placed in a position, as you can see, where she is facing head on, like whatever
Mm-hmm.
is coming towards her. Her wings are pulled back, fully extended. You have to think about like even the muscle range of having your um attachments pulled
Mm-hmm.
out, right?
Absolutely.
That's a flexed position. That's not a relaxed
Absolutely.
position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in addition, some people believe that, while she doesn't have arms, that they were either she either had her arms like fully extended out again, which is like a not relaxed position, that is like an engaging flexed position with her hands
Mm-hmm.
slightly upwards and looking out, or she maybe had one arm relaxed and one arm holding like a spear.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I
but
have heard, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I
oh
have
no,
heard
please,
she was
please.
placing a crown. It was meant to look like she was placing a crown upon someone's head. Do you think
Oh,
that, do you think she was maybe doing that, or I'm not really too sure because, without her arms, we don't really know.
I mean, that is such an interesting theory. I almost want to say probably.
Mm-hmm.
Only because that just sounds so closely related to the other two theories of just in
Mm-hmm.
general her arms being placed forward, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, but yeah, the details on her are obviously a given for the time period,
Mm-hmm.
but I just want to say that her positioning and her flexed emotions that she is giving is just um
Powerful.
powerful and one to be engaged with. I also
Absolutely.
have here a piece prior, right, prior to the
Mm-hmm.
Hellenistic period. I don't want to spend too much time on these, but I think that it's important. Um,
Yeah, and you had mentioned that there's something very significant between Nike and Doriforce. I don't want to
yeah.
say that wrong. You were telling me about it. What was that again?
Yeah, so you see here, and again, this is just like a very excellent example of
Hmm.
perfectionism, right?
Absolutely.
Um, but we see here that again you have this jutted out position, one leg bent, one leg straight, the
Hmm.
hips positioned ever so slightly and ever so delicately. But we see here that we have a support. That's not
Hmm.
something that we see on Nike whatsoever. So we see from 440 BCE to 190 BCE that somehow was eliminated in the process.
Hmm. Not to go off on a tangent, but do you think that maybe that just represents how powerful she was supposed to appear?
You know what? I'd hope so. That sounds very interesting, and I'd hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
The difference between our gentleman here and Nike is that obviously Nike was a one of the
Goddess.
one of the pantheon goddesses
Hmm.
that they had adored and worshipped. Um, which actually brings me into my next piece about Augustus, right? Now, this is
Hmm.
post-Hellenistic period. Augustus is actually pretty important because he was the first, like god king
Hmm.
of the
Absolutely.
New
Yeah.
World, right?
Yeah.
Um, at the time considered New World, right? The Holy
Yeah.
Roman Empire. We're seeing the fall of Greece, and the conquering of Rome, and Rome conquered greatly also in the art
Hmm.
department, right? And
Yeah.
you know, we have been taught that art is a representation of the people who made it, right? And
Hmm.
so we do see here that Augustus has put himself in a position of being God-like. We see
Hmm.
this angel at the bottom of his feet holding on to him. We
Yeah,
see the immense amount of details, but most importantly, Elizabeth, that angel is actually a secret support.
exactly. I was just about to say that's exactly what you were talking about with Doroforus.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm not saying it wrong.
Well,
But
it's just interesting because you go from pre-Hellenistic no support to post-Hellen or sorry, pre-Hellenistic support to
hmm.
post-Hellenistic support, and what happened in the middle? You know what I'm
No
saying?
support,
No support.
they knew exactly what they were doing when they were creating her. They
Yeah,
really did.
yeah. Um, but yeah, is there any other details that you could imagine from seeing Augustus? Because I mean, he is just like his chest plate. Um,
Yes, it's so beautiful.
yeah,
One thing
the
that does always catch my eye is the
yes.
drapery falling over his left arm. It just falls so perfectly. It's incredible how somebody can just capture that much detail, especially on
Hmm.
one statue, because he's got way more detail than just that, you know.
Hmm.
Honestly,
Hmm.
it's just incredible to think about and honestly to see as well. And I'm very honored in the fact that I get to see it.
Yeah, maybe they took some inspiration from our Nike, you know?
Maybe. I mean, they were like, we need to step up our game.
Yeah. Lastly, and just another compare and contrast before we wrap up here is the Arch of Titus. We see here that we're no longer glorifying form or deities or even
Hmm.
leaders. We're now, as a society in 81 CE, right? We're glorifying moments, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
This was
events.
yeah, as you can see, this archway probably was in the beginning or in a very important part of a city, and you can see here
Hmm.
the details of the sacking of the Jerusalem temple.
Yeah.
Um, there is no lack of detail here that we haven't seen already from our
Hmm.
previous pieces, but I just wanted to note that like, okay, we're moving away from very personal
Hmm. Close up.
figures,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
now we're moving towards monuments, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
More of a collective celebration rather than like an individualistic
Yep.
engagement. And again, like I think that really hones in for our thesis here
For
that
sure.
specifically for our statue, it almost demands the viewer's engagement rather
Hmm.
than just like, oh, you have a perfect form here, or oh, this
I
is,
know.
you know,
Sorry. Yeah.
no, no, please.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, when choosing what I wanted to go over for this assignment, she immediately grasped my attention. And that kind of, she makes you want to engage with her. And I
Yeah.
think it's really fascinating to see it. Like, I did it myself without realizing I did it, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Almost like she herself has like some story, right?
exactly. She has to. You look at her and you're like, she's so majestic, so incredible. There has to be an amazing story to this statue,
Of
for sure.
course. Um, well, I mean, we're rearing our end of our time, but Elizabeth, I had such
Yeah,
an amazing time
me too.
researching this project with you.
Yeah.
Um, it honestly was so fascinating to get into the nitty-gritty and the history of this beautiful, beautiful
Yes.
statue.
I know I've enjoyed every second of it.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank
This
you.
has been Two Starving Artists for sure.
Woo.
Signing out.